We are live. What's going on, guys? Thanks for joining us on a special bonus workshop. We put this together last minute, but we've got a good attendance and we've got a great topic, and it's a hot topic right now, which is investing internationally. And not only investing internationally, but doing it with a retirement account, either an IRA or a 401k.
It's like a hot topic in the hot tropics.
It's literally a hot topic because we're going to talk about investing in some hot areas. And we're not talking about here in the States either. So we got some special guests. I'm going to make some announcements first, though. If you guys have questions at any point during the workshop, type those questions into the Q&A box. We'll try to address those questions either as we go or at the end, and save the chat for networking. If you guys want to introduce each other, talk to each other, say, hey, I'm so-and-so from Virginia, or whatever you guys want to do, leave that for networking, but questions, put it in the Q&A chat.
I like how you picked Virginia, of all the states.
I don't know. I don't know why I always say Virginia.
I mean, we got like Texas and Florida.
I know.
Screw it. We're going for Virginia.
All right. So let's jump into it, guys, because we got a lot of stuff to share with you guys today. And for anybody who is new, if this is your first workshop, we're going to go over just some basic slides and talk about who we are at Directed IRA, why we put on so much education about these so-called self-directed IRAs, talk a little bit about what a self-directed IRA is. Mm-hmm. And then get into some fun stuff and talk about what types of investments you can put inside of an IRA that you might not have known about. So let's jump into it. Tristan, if you want to bring up the slides. My name is Nate Hare, by the way. I'm the executive director at Directed IRA. I've got my cohort here, Aaron Halderman, who is the COO. We've been in the investment world for decades, but we've been in the self-directed IRA world together for quite some time. Mm-hmm. So now we're going to talk a little bit about that, what Directed IRA does, and let's just jump into it first and give you our disclaimer. Any education or anything that we put on, just remember, we're only giving education. We're not giving tax, legal, or investment advice. Everything here is for education purposes only. That's our disclaimer. We've got attorneys. We got to make them happy. So just make sure that you guys understand we're not telling you what you should or you shouldn't invest in. This is just food for thought about what you can do with a retirement account. Now, if you're not familiar with Directed IRA is a licensed trust company out of the state of Arizona. We manage retirement accounts, or we assist people in using retirement accounts, and we've served over 20,000 clients at this point. We've got about $1.8 billion under management. Now, those are all self-directed retirement accounts that hold alternative assets. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But the big thing about Directed IRA is we've got some pretty cool accolades just in the last 12 months. We were named to the Inc. 5000 list for 2023. I don't know of another company in our space that was on that list.
And we're in the top 1,000.
Yeah, we're top. Yeah, like 802, I think.
Something like that.
And that really goes to show how important it is for us as a self-directed IRA company to provide the best customer service out there in the industry. And if you read our reviews, we've got glowing reviews from our clients. Because as you find when you look at self-directed IRA companies, the one thing that stands out is customer service. We all offer the same types of products. IRAs are the same no matter where you go. But if you're going to self-direct and you want to start investing in alternative investments with your retirement plans, just work with a company that you like to work with. Work with a company that's fast, work with a company that has reasonable fees, and work with a company that other people are saying good things about. You don't have to listen to it from us, but go to our Google reviews and check us out. So basically what we do at Directed IRA is we put the keys in your hand to allow you to what we call self-direct your retirement account. Most people don't realize that you can own almost anything inside of a retirement account. And when I talk about retirement accounts, I'm talking about IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, TRS, TSPs. All of these retirement plans have been able to hold the same investments ever since they were created. You can own anything in a retirement account except two assets: life insurance contracts and collectibles. That's it. Most people just think you can invest in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, and we call those traditional investments. Now, the reason most people think you can only invest in traditional investments, like the ones on the left there, it's because that's what your Fidelities and your Charles Schwabs are licensed to sell. Don't get confused. When you have an IRA with them, they're licensed securities brokers. They're selling financial products. So when you have an IRA with those big guys, they're only going to allow you to hold what they sell. But your investment options go well outside of that box. You can invest in anything. You can invest in real estate, promissory notes secured by real estate anywhere, which we're talking about today, not even in the United States. You can invest pretty much anywhere in the world. Precious metals, land, debt leveraged investments. So you can have actually investments in real estate with debt. There's a lot of creative real estate strategies that you can apply to a self-directed retirement plan. So it's really wide open game. And what we talk about at Directed IRA is invest your retirement into something you're knowledgeable about or you're comfortable with. And I'll tell you this, and you can add to this, Aaron, is the alternative asset space has been growing by leaps and bounds over the last decade. Mm-hmm. It's the fastest growing asset class in retirement accounts right now. There's more people looking to invest in alternatives than ever before.
Yeah, I think we're in exciting times right now. There's a lot of economic uncertainty. We're seeing more and more people open up new accounts every month with us. A lot of people actually just sitting in cash too, waiting, trying to time things, I think, for whatever reason. But I think they're just kind of like tired of, stocks, bonds, mutual funds. They still have like a good portfolio of them, but they're also looking to invest in things that they believe in, that they're passionate about, whether it be like a friend's small business, their own piece of real estate that they can cash flow in, or just whatever type of alternative investment that's not like, a big Wall Street type of investment. So I think we're just going to see more and more of that. We're in for like a great ride over the next like couple years for sure, I think.
Yeah, and it's not really new options. It's just becoming more popular and becoming more knowledgeable with the age of technology and people having the ability to find alternative investments. The rich and the wealthy have been using self-directed IRAs to invest in alternatives since the mid-'70s. But it was almost like a good old boys group. You had to know people building apartments. You had to know people setting up syndications. That was hard to find prior to the internet. Nowadays, you can go online and find all sorts of investments even outside of the country. So anything you can find as far as an investment goes can be held inside of a retirement account. But if you want to hold the alternative investments, you have to work through a company like Directed IRA. Now, when you hear this term, we use this term a lot, and this used very loosely in the industry, but it's called a self-directed IRA. Now, that's the product that we have here. But self-directed is just a marketing term. So don't get confused with an IRA here versus your IRA at Fidelity. Those IRAs are actually the same by law. Legally, there's no difference between an IRA at Fidelity and an IRA at Directed IRA. The only difference is we hold different investments than Fidelity, but here's the big thing. We don't sell the investment to you. We don't provide investments. We don't have real estate to sell you. You have to tell us what the investment is, and that's where the self-directed part comes in. You find the investment, we buy it at your instructions inside your retirement account. And therefore, you keep all the tax benefits that your retirement account gets. So don't get confused with self-directed. It's just a marketing term. We've got the same type of accounts that you find at the big banks. And here's the 6 accounts that we have here at Directed IRA that can all be self-directed. So when we talk about investing into international real estate, just realize all of these plans here can own international real estate. All of these plans here can own alternative investments. And I broke it down into it really quick, 3 categories. You've got personal plans here at Directed IRA, which include your traditional and a Roth IRA. Those can both be self-directed, and you can hold alternative investments in a traditional or Roth through Directed IRA. If you're self-employed, you have additional options for self-direction. You can self-direct and own alternatives in a SEP IRA or the mighty powerful solo 401k. We have a lot of small business owners setting up solo 401ks and buying real estate or other alternative investments in the 401ks. And then we also have non-retirement accounts. We have health savings accounts and education savings accounts that can be self-directed as well. And these are still tax-exempt plans, but the benefit to these plans is you can invest in alternatives and use the distributions to pay for health expenses and education expenses for your family. That is maximizing tax benefits to the maximum degree if you can understand how to leverage and use these tax-exempt accounts to grow your wealth completely tax-free. Now, I'm a big fan of the Roth, big fan of the Roth 401k, big fan of the HSA, but we could talk a little bit more about that. If you guys have questions on these different types of accounts, we'll give you some information on how to contact us.
Throw it over in the Q&A box or the chat, whichever is good.
Okay. So let's touch on this real quick, Aaron. And when you're investing internationally, it is a little bit different than investing here in the United States. One of the things that has separated us in the industry of self-directed IRA custodians is the ability to have what's called a checkbook control IRA LLC. Tell them a little bit about how that works.
Yeah, this is a very cool structure. So my stepfather, wonderful man, worked for the railroad for a number of years. When the recession hit, he watched his 401k literally like drop in half to a 201k and freaked out because they were on a fixed income. They relied on their cash flow, to pay their expenses. Of course, they have their Social Security. He has a great pension being part of the railroad too. But any like extra money they had came from their investments. So I remember I used to run some big conferences in the note investing space, and a good friend of mine at the time, still is, just in a different capacity. Now we work together. But he wrote the Self-Directed IRA Handbook, and that was Matt Sorensen was the author of that. And so he used to come speak at my conferences, and he would talk about this particular structure. And I remember and it was one of our first encounters meeting each other, is like him speaking at like my event. And my stepdad was there, of course, got his book, and he went through and read it before I even did. But he is like, he pointed this structure out to me. He's like, we got to do this. And so we set it up at Matt's law firm at KKOS Lawyers. We just did a single member LLC. We actually did it with this traditional IRA. So the IRA is the single member, the sole member of the LLC. It outlines that in the operating agreement. You open up a checking account. We like to use Titan Bank. That's who we refer everybody to. So you can just go to titanbank.com and do that. And so you open up a checking account. They already have the structure ready to go, understand that it's going to get approved. If you try and do it through like Chase or Wells Fargo and they finally see the operating agreement, they'll shut it down because they look at the IRA, right, see that's a qualified account, and they typically like close the account. There's only less than a dozen or so banks in the country that'll even like allow this type of structure. That actually understand it. But it's cool because then it's just like any other business checking account that you have. You can like do your earnest money deposits. You can, wire the funds yourself to actually purchase the property or make the investment. You're signing the investment docs, on behalf of the LLC in the name of the LLC. That's how it's vested and entitled. But that's how the single member works. You just have, it's called checkbook control because you literally have control of your checkbook. And then the other structure is a little bit more complicated. You definitely will want to meet with an attorney and get this set up. It's also the only structure where you can have disqualified persons, kind of co-investing alongside you that would otherwise be disqualified, in a type of other format. So it's like you could have your personal funds, you could have your IRA, you could have your spouse's personal funds or IRA, or any other type of disqualified person or your children, and you would all be members of this LLC, hence multi-member IRA LLC, where there's two or more IRAs as owners. And this, again, also gives you checkbook control. It's a very popular structure. You can also manage it yourself, or you can get a third party to manage it. There's nothing that's come out in the IRS code that says that you can't necessarily be the manager yourself, even though you're the member of the LLC or your IRA is. It's totally, fine as far as we're concerned, and you can do it. So it's a great structure. It's easy to make the investments. We know other custodians don't love it. That's totally cool. To each their own, but that's something that we do. We set up, hundreds of them every month, and we'll continue to. I think it's a great way for people to self-direct and invest in alternatives outside of Wall Street.
And let's just be clear, this is not a requirement for you to invest in IRA into alternatives. Yeah. But based on the subject matter that we have today with international real estate, we prefer to see somebody invest through a checkbook IRA LLC for a little bit more asset protection, and you have the flexibility to send international wires and things like that. Mm-hmm. So again, you don't have to have this structure, and it's an option. And I want to piggyback on what Aaron said. There's some custodians that will not let you set up an IRA-owned LLC or a multi-member IRA-owned LLC and let you, the IRA owner, be the manager. Now, we probably wouldn't set many of these up either if we didn't have the law firm KKOS that is our basically sister company that will set these up for you. So we have attorneys that we work with directly that understand the IRA rules. We're basically sister companies, and we work hand in hand with clients that need to set this up. So we just want to touch on that. We can take more questions on that. I think we spent enough time on that. But remember, it's not a requirement, but for this topic, it's going to be
it's
something
definitely a structure that a lot of people, a good friend of mine's on here, also a client, Tyson, good to see you, buddy. And he's done some, investing and stuff, and what we're talking about today, and using a defined benefit plan and some other strategies, but also has checkbook control to do these kind of investments. So,
yeah, it does make things a lot easier when you've got the access to the checkbook and you can just send money for your retirement investments. So let's bring on our guests now. So we talked a little bit about what you can invest in. Obviously, international real estate is fair game when you talk about investing with your IRA or your 401k. But let's bring on some experts and talk about what the market is like, specifically in where they're investing, which is Roatan, and talk a little bit about international investing as a whole. So
we are informed that expats and pronounce it Roatan, but the locals, it's Roatan?
I was saying Roatan. I don't know, but.
All right, Nate. So
someone correct us.
So you're already a local?
I haven't been there, but I'm a local already.
Nate's a local. And this episode is brought to you by Liquid Death. I'm just kidding. Mark's trying to get sponsored by Rockstar, and I'm going to get a Liquid
I saw
Death.
that.
I'm going to get a Liquid Death sponsorship. All right, Ben, you on, buddy? Oh, look at that silver hair. That is something else. Yeah, rub it in, jerk. This is something else. Just a couple of quick things before I intro everyone. So we do have the slides up. This will go up on our website at directedira.com/workshop. You can access it there. We drop the slides in the chat function there. It is recorded, so if you miss any of it, you can go back and review it. We'll take some questions kind of throughout. I'm looking at them right now. Nate's looking at them. So is Tristan in the studio. So we'll hit as many as we can. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to go over what Ben is doing with his partners in international real estate investing, the development opportunities, and how people can leverage both qualified and non-qualified funds in doing so. We process a lot of these types of investments at Directed IRA that are going into foreign businesses or foreign real estate. And so we thought this would be a unique opportunity where we've already have a number of clients that have invested and done this. This is not by any means us endorsing it or saying, hey, this is a good investment or go do it. Do your own due diligence. You can contact, Ben afterwards. If he shares his contact information, you can learn more and kind of get from there. But it's kind of a cool story. So Ben and I met probably, about 8-9 years ago. Ben was an MLO. He was doing underwriting for large portfolios of distressed assets, and where I was buying large pools and quantities of non-performing notes, and we were either getting them performing through a workout or a loan mod, or we were doing a creative structure like seller financing, and Ben would help underwrite them, get the borrowers qualified, and so he used to come to the noteworthy conferences. Fast forward to, 2018? 2018, 2019? 2018? I think somewhere around there. We're getting old.
Those are dating yourselves.
Those dates are slipping my mind. So, but I was making a transition into the self-directed space. I was still actively in the real estate and note investing space, still hosting educational seminars, teaching other people how to get into note investing. I approached Ben and one of his partners if they wanted to come in and partner with me on it and eventually take control and full ownership of it as I transitioned out of that educational space and got into more operations and running a directed trust company. And so that's kind of like how we came full spectrum into full circle into this, and it's been a great opportunity to learn more about everybody's different skills and strengths, and then what they're in. But Ben's done thousands of deals himself. He is an investor in Roatan personally and with his family. He's also arranging site visits. He has one of his partners joining us too. Ken, who I've met a number of years ago as well. And then we'll be hearing from Scott. I think his site's Roatan Caribbean Living.com. You can kind of do a little bit more research and due diligence there. But Scott's been a long time developer. He's got about 400 lots out there right now. He does some lending there as well. And he's been on site living full time with his family since 2015, and also owns several homes that he, rents out both short-term, long-term, Airbnb style as well. So I personally am looking to go out there at some point in July, that whenever their next site visit is being arranged. I'm going to look at, what opportunities are out there that I can, do both with qualified and non-qualified funds. So I'm excited personally just to hear about what you guys are doing and how others can, potentially get involved and do their own due diligence. So welcome, guys. Glad to have you on. I understand you got some slides. You're going to kind of give us the whole movie, paint by the numbers for us, make it easy for us simpletons.
Absolutely. Well, you're never going to find a bigger simpleton than me when it comes to these slides. Hopefully I can figure it out. So first of all, thanks for having us. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll make sure it's the right one. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it. You guys are running a great show over there. So we're glad to be here. I think when, Aaron and I first started talking about Roatan, there was a lot of like, can we do this through self-directed? How does it going to work? And, it's really cool, to have that conversation saying, hey, we got it figured out, like, and it can work for people. So whether or not that works for anybody on here, you'll find out. But, we kind of invited Scott to come out to one of our noteworthy events, just as an alternative investment. We want to, educate people on different things that they can do, and it ended up being an opportunity for us to take a trip to Roatan just about this time last year. And it was nothing short of amazing. Like, it's a beautiful, beautiful place. It's quite frankly pretty easy to get to. And we're going to go through some of the stuff that makes Roatan a really interesting opportunity for investors right now. So let's kick this off and I'll see if I can't get it.
I think as you're doing that, Ben, I think one important note here is, like, everybody on here is actively full-time real estate investors, note investors, also have lending backgrounds, developing backgrounds. I think that's important when you're looking at these types of educational events that we do, is like, what's their background? What are they currently doing? What do they do this full-time, or is this part-time? And, how they're out, doing these types of deals. So,
yeah, I think one of the reasons that this was, quite frankly, very appealing to me, I can't speak for Ken on here, but for me, it was, deals were getting harder and harder to come by. And so, we were looking for interesting opportunities where we could, also take investing in cash flow to a different level. And I own, over 55 rentals now, and have, 3 or 4 Airbnbs. And, knowing that process and what those things are gives you a good foundation to look at something like this and say, okay, can I systematize it to where I'm not, obviously not on the island. I'm not going to be on the island full time anytime soon while my daughter's in school. But can I systematize it so that, basically it will run by itself and just be something that I can go use if I'm interested in doing so. So that's largely what this is going to be about. So
awesome. So everybody just kicked off, just throw your questions over in the Q&A. I'll answer some of them, live while Ben's going through, and then we'll kind of take a few breaks, and we'll tee up some good questions as well.
All right, cool. We have our own disclaimer. Obviously Aaron hit the nail on the head there. Just make sure that you are going to do your own due diligence on anything you invest in. We're not recommending that you do one thing or the other. That's completely up to you. So we're just going to keep this real simple. Who, what, why, where, when. All right. So our residential construction development master, certified builder structural engineer, Scott Miller, is on with us. And I'm going to be picking his brain on some stuff here today. And I encourage you to do so as well. He's been 25 plus years residential construction development, and, doing from single family to apartment complexes here in the States. And I'm talking not just like, fourplexes and sixplexes. I'm talking like large multifamily developments. So he's very knowledgeable in what he does, how he's building. There was really super impressive. You know, the construction materials, how the things are designed. They are not flimsy whatsoever. That I can tell you. So, you know, the amount of concrete that they were using would impress just about anybody. But he, like he was saying before, he manages over 400 lots and 200 acres on Roatan. He's been a part of the island. He's very well connected on the island, which I think is very important when you're investing somewhere that's out of the United States. You want to make sure that you have great connections and, you know, that can help guide you through the process. And he'll talk a little bit about, you know, some of those connections and how they can help investors from the United States basically, you know, figure out the process. This is from our trip to Roatan actually last year. This top picture, we had a great time. I mean, there was about 8 of us. It was one of the best networking, you know, I've been a part of. Obviously, the island is beautiful, but you know, we made great connections with people, formed probably lifelong friendships, and you know, the island itself is spectacular. I mean, it's some of the most beautiful water you've ever seen in your life. For me personally, I live here in Florida, pretty spoiled, you know, in terms of, you know, this being a vacation destination and it's somewhat tropical. You know, but I do love to vacation in places like Mexico and Jamaica and Dominican. And this was, you know, something interesting, a place I've never been. And I kind of took it with a grain of salt, like, all right, well, maybe this will be kind of a cool trip and, you know, we'll see what happens. But it's really spectacular. I'm going to get into some of the details about the island. So Roatan, if you're not familiar with where it is, it's off the coast of Honduras, about 35, 40 miles in Central America in the Caribbean Sea. So you can get an idea here from a map perspective. And this is basically the island. It's about 40 miles long, and I think it's about 5 or 6 miles wide. So, you know, it's easy to get around, or getting easier. And Scott will talk a little bit about that now. There's literally, I think, one stoplight on the entire island, to which, if I remember correctly, nobody uses. So, but you know, it's very easy to get to from the United States. Frankly, I mean, from as remote as it is, you wouldn't think that would be the case. But the cruise ships go there. It's become a very highly sought after place to go to for cruise ships, and it's largely because it's surrounded by one of the biggest barrier reefs in the world, the second biggest barrier reef in the world behind the one in Australia. So that makes for some of the most spectacular scuba diving, snorkeling, fishing you could ever hope to see in your life. Just some quick facts. There's only about 45,000 people that live on the island. Like I said, it's about 35 miles from mainland Honduras. You know, Honduras is kind of sketchy a little bit, you know, so mainland Honduras. But the good, and we talked a little bit about that when we were on the island. You know, they do not tolerate crime on the island. If you basically commit a crime on the island, you're exiled. They kick you off and take you back to the mainland, and you're never to come back. So it's easy to get access to from Atlanta, Denver, Dallas, Houston, Miami, and Minneapolis. If you're Canadian, I think there's even a flight from Canada. U.S. citizens can own property, which is a big deal because in some countries you can't. So, like I said, second largest barrier reef. It's a British colony, so most people speak English. In fact, I don't think I ran, Ken, I don't know if you remember or not, I don't think I ran into anybody that didn't speak English. So it was very easy to communicate with people and get around. You've got beach, jungle, mountains, all different types of, you know, geography on the island, which is really cool. And the average temperature is about 80 degrees. And this one was important to me. I live in Florida. Hurricanes have become, call them frequent over the last few years and terrible. Infrequent hurricanes, the last one was in 1998.
Wow.
So it's just kind of in a special place where it's really not targeted. So that's kind of cool. So why we're here today is, you know, this is why I looked at it. I wanted to have a vacation home that would pay for itself, right? Or cost me very little out of pocket at the end of the day. And so that was kind of, you know, the idea of my going to the island saying, okay, if I wanted to build a place or buy a home there, can it sustain itself where I don't need to be there full time? And so we started looking at, the rental market opportunities there. And you can actually do this yourself, obviously, if you go to places like VRBO, Airbnb, you can see what properties are renting for, where they're located on the island. So you can really kind of make an educated decision on, you know, if you decide to go that route, if it would, you're interested in owning an Airbnb short-term rental, all right, this is the kind of income and return that I can probably expect. And Scott can talk a little bit about some of the amenities that can take your home to the next level. One of them being service. I mean, basically you have maid slash butler slash chef service while you're there on the island, and it's ridiculously cheap. And I had not one bad meal. Like it was, my bed was made every day. They went grocery shopping. They did anything and everything that was needed for the guests. So it's pretty spectacular. And these people they covet these opportunities. So if people have a property, they're obviously looking for work and want to help. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the developments that Scott is working on. So, Scott, if you want to chime in here and then just kind of go through these and what they are and how they came to be and the style of home, that would be awesome.
All right. Thanks, Ben. So right now we have 4 developments. It looks like we have 3 of them up right now, but we have 4 developments currently going, 3 that are getting ready to start. As low as 300 up to $5 million, depending on where you're at and the type of home. We're basically, I've done developments and I really found Roatan to be the most friendly place I've ever been. And I was supposed to just retire there and, relax. But after seeing how beautiful it was and the potential opportunity, I just couldn't pass it up. It's like Costa Rica was, 15 years ago. And the growth has just been crazy with, like you said, Ben, international airlines coming in. Alaska is supposed to come in next year. So we have, American, Delta, Southwest, and United all coming in there. American's supposed to be 2025.
You're a little choppy, Scott, I think. You having that same issue, Ben?
Yeah.
Picking up Seattle and California. Can you hear me now or no?
Yes. Yeah. It's just a little choppy where you're at. You could kill your you kill your video and just go audio if that helps.
The pretty better.
Yeah, let's just go audio.
Yes. Go ahead.
All right. So the developments I have, okay. The developments I have are basically range from small single family homes, large custom estate homes, and then we've just started doing condos because it's just one of the most important things needed on Roatan right now. Weston's been doing it for about 1.5 years, 2 years. It's super hot. And where I develop on the east end mostly, we're doing 7 basically 8-story condo buildings in one of our developments called Seabreeze. And then we're doing a luxury condo community in Camp Bay Estates, and that's where my home is. And, high-end homes are going there, in that development. That's basically what's going on in my housing developments. Rental properties, though, Ben knows this. We've been doing VRBO, Airbnb, short-term rentals on. We have 6 houses there that I own outright, and we're doing between $80,000 and $160,000 a year.
Wow.
And part of that is because I stay in a lot of the houses, and my family's in, visiting a lot, and they don't get charged. So it could definitely be more. I'll share one quick story of how this all started. My first house in 2015, I own 1,100 units, apartment units and single family homes in the States.
Okay.
And my wife is an accountant, and she kind of oversees all of our properties and stuff like that. And she said, "Hey, our house in Roatan did $60,000 last year." And I'm like, "There's no way. It's in the middle of nowhere." And I go, "It's got to be a mistake." And she goes, "No." She goes, "I've done the numbers a couple times. It's true." So I'm like, "Well, let's push that a little bit and see what happens." And then the next year it did right around 80,000. And this is just a simple 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom house with a pool, great views, but not on the beach or anything. So I was like, why am I collecting $12,000 to $25,000 per house when I could be, collecting $50,000, $60,000 per house plus? So that's what started it all off. We built 2 houses in West End. First years right off the back, we did over 100,000 each home. On real short-term rental income, and kind of haven't stopped since. Just keep on building, selling stuff off in the States, moving it over to to Roatan. So
Scott, how does it work right now? So these 7-8 story condo developments, what is going to be the price range in those?
Price range starts at 250, and then the ones in Camp Bay will probably top out at about 700 with the penthouse suites.
Okay. And then if they're just purchasing a lot and doing a single family, what's the range for those?
It's really a huge range, anywhere from as low as 399 for a single family home all the way up to 5 million or so.
Okay.
Really depends on the area, the lot, the house. It really, the closer you are to the beach or Camp Bay, which is one of the nicest beaches in the world, the price obviously goes up. The further you get away from the beach, the cheaper the house is.
Yeah. And then, okay, that's helpful.
Yeah. One thing Ben did touch on, and I want to just finish up on that. We do manage all of our properties in our development, so you could get other outside management for sure, which makes it easier on our investors because we deal with mostly guys that are investing, renting out their properties. But I do recommend that I lower my rates way down, but I suggest you get a caretaker for every one of your homes. You pay them $500 a month. They cook, they clean, they shop, they turn over the homes.
Wow.
They do everything for the guests. They'll pick the guests up. So it's truly like, it's a luxury that you could give the renters. I mean, they have breakfast, lunch, and dinner for you, serve you drinks, whatever you want. You don't have to leave the house or the beach. They could just take care of you fully. And in doing so, it helps, rent those houses out and gives your people renting just a luxury high-end feel, and just taken care of. And that's one thing in all my developments, I hope.
Scott, for people who are maybe on the call or on the workshop that are familiar with investing in the States, new construction, how would you compare, permitting, construction costs, time to build here compared to Roatan?
So right now I build commercial stuff in the Phoenix area and in California. My cost to build is between $250 and $400 a square foot. Right now I'm building in Roatan between $175 and $300 a square foot. And that's for the nicest stuff out there. So cheaper to build in Roatan, more expensive to get the materials there because I ship everything from Florida, Miami.
Okay.
So that's a hit, but I am a national builder, so I get, material at a cheaper rate. So that's helping now. But the labor there is a lot cheaper. So that helps me lower my cost. I I pay anywhere from $20 to $100 a day for labor, and I have 160 employees there that work for me locally, and then I have 9 expats or Americans that I've transferred over from the States to work for me and oversee projects in Roatan.
Okay.
Awesome.
I'll just kind of go through some of these so you guys can get an idea of what these properties look like. And Scott, can you are these customizable, or is it kind of like as you see it?
No, so you could definitely customize. You know, I'm very strict with the CC&Rs, rules and regulations of the house, and there are no permits. I mean, there are permits. There are no inspections there. So if you build on my development, you don't have to use us. You could use an outside builder, but I will do inspections on the house to make sure they're up to par, you know, structurally sound, they're built right. And I do 5 inspections, and you can modify the homes as long as we don't change the looks too much. But yes, we can customize these homes, Ben, to answer your question.
Okay. Yeah, I would recommend, you know, that you use somebody like Scott, because quite frankly, some of these houses, they're literally on the side of a mountain. So like you want it built right. And obviously he wants it built right too, so that your house doesn't come tumbling down onto a friend of his house, you know? So it's kind of important that it gets done the right way. This is Sunset Vistas. This is actually where Ken and I own property. So you can see kind of like what the view looks like here in the upper left-hand corner from, you know, when you've got a mountain, you're basically perched on the side of the hill. It's incredible views, you know, easy to get to. And that was one of the things I wanted to ask you, Scott. Like, you're out here on the east end of the island. The west end was really kind of where things were kind of kicked off, I would guess you would say, for Roatan.
Yep.
What has been the genesis of developing out east?
So there's 7 big developers out east that are going gung-ho right now. The big thing we've been waiting on is the road. We've been on a dirt road for 7 years. And they finally are putting in the main road that connects from Camp Bay Beach to Diamond Rock Road, which is huge. I've invested millions and millions of dollars on property out there waiting for this road to come in. So it should be done September, which will change the whole dynamics of this east end. Camp Bay is the nicest beach on the whole island. So it's been a hidden gem because nobody wants to drive 5 miles on a dirt road. That's pretty crazy, but that is now taken care of. And the 7 big developers are doing resorts, big resorts. Adam, who's with Mexican Riviera, they're doing a 300-unit resort in Paya Bay, which is less than a half mile away from our properties.
Wow.
So that's huge. Michael Douglas owns the property between myself, Camp Bay Estates, and Sunset, and they're looking at kicking off about 100 high-end bungalows and some, you know, high-end restaurants on the beach. So that's exciting news.
Yeah.
And then myself. So there's only 4 people that own everything on Camp Bay, besides the single individual homes on the beach. But myself, Eric Anderson, and Michael Douglas own all the property above Camp Bay Beach.
Wow. Okay. So you're what's called a pretty big deal.
I wouldn't say that. Wouldn't say that. We've it's taken a while to lock this in.
Sure. Well, it
Scott's
helps
too
like
humble.
it helps having boots on the ground too, and having spent coming up on 10 years there. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Scott's too humble to say that, but he's one of the most well-networked people on that island, I can guarantee you. So he knows just a tremendous amount of people and knows how to get things moving. So
I have a really good relationship with the mayor, the governor, and every highfalutin guy on there. We're actually good friends. I mean, we have dinner on a regular basis. Ben and Ken and everybody met and had dinner with the governor and the mayor, the head guy with permits. And it's not, you know, it's not what you know, it's who you know on those islands
Oh,
for
yeah,
sure.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
I want to interject real quick. That
Yeah.
for myself as an investor on the island there, that was a big push for me. I've invested in Puerto Rico. I've invested overseas multiple times, and they've panned out, but there was a lot of red tape. And when we sat down with the mayor and sat down with Scott, it was one of the questions that we had is, you know, what are we going to run into from permits? What are we going to run into that could potentially deter me from investing here? Not to mention, you know, my network of people and Ben's. And he literally said, we don't believe in red tape. We believe in red carpets for you. And I was like, all right, that's kind of a pitch. But then he followed through, and Scott has followed through. Like when he talked about the $500 a month for like service, not only is that a big deal, because one, that's cheap, but to experience that and see that throughout the island was massive. And then for me, I've got 3 young children and a wife and a family that I wanted to bring to the island. And my big thing was crime. So Ben touched on that briefly. And I've said this to anybody that I've brought there or had the conversation with. I've never felt safer overseas than when I stepped foot here. And to see it blow up just over the last year has been incredible. But Scott and his relationships and the individuals that are there, who knows him, and just, I don't want to say the ability to pull strings, but ultimately to have a working capital relationship with people that care about what happens on that island. And speaking with the mayor, he basically said, like, you're not going to push my people out. We will do everything that we can to service you and helping our island grow. But you're going to respect us. And I found that incredibly, that passion, I felt it. And that was a really big deal for me. And me and Ben discussed that as well before we put our own money there. So just wanted to highlight that real quick. It's a really big deal to have that type of commitment from your mayor. It's just a big deal. So,
Well, I want to piggyback on that for a second too, because for people that are listening, not all countries treat investors the same, or people, sometimes you have to be a citizen of that country to own real estate. So, you know, this is something to be said, because if you are planning to invest with your retirement account internationally, you have to understand how it works to buy that property internationally. And if they're welcoming you with open arms as red carpet, that's going to make things a lot more easier for you to invest, whether it's in an IRA or out of an IRA.
I briefly touched on security. There was a night that myself and Ben were walking back. It was kind of late. We were walking back from just kind of touring out the restaurants and the nightlife out there. And as we're walking, there was security that multiple times checked, hey, are you guys okay? Do you need anything? And it was just like, man, to be overseas, like I've never experienced that. I was always kind of looking around, looking over my shoulder, and to know that I can safely, you know, bring my family there, and everywhere we went, welcome with smiles. It was just incredible. So that was really big. And again, they're excited for outside investors to come in because we're helping their economy. And the mayor and governor there are very keen on making sure that their people are protected, are safe, and are insured. And with a mutual relationship with that, like that helps in the development of this island for sure.
I love it. All right, so we got, what else do we want to go over as far as the opportunities are there, Ben, and then take a few questions.
Scott, this is the condo thing, which is in the works right now. So maybe just talk a little bit about this. This is going to be, I had a question actually about this, was the map in terms of, are all those numbers going to be single family properties, or will those be condo buildings?
Yeah, so we have 7. So if you look at the top of that map, you have 7 condo buildings and 1 commercial. The commercial is going to be restaurants. We're going to do a Top Golf spinoff, you know, and then all the other properties. So over 200 properties will be single family residential.
All these.
What you don't see on this is I own another 30 acres in between that, and then down to a marina. I own 10 acres on the beach or on the water that I'm going to have a high-end we'll call it a yacht club if you want, yacht club with a marina that this housing development and condo development will have access to, plus boat slips. But, you know, we'll have catamaran tours. I'll have my catamaran there. You know, we'll have paddle boards, boat tours, mangrove tours right off this bite. So that's all going to incorporate into this development.
Love it.
Yeah.
So those what are in black up at the top there, those 7 structures that are those little black rectangles, those are the 7
Correct.
condo units, and the numbers and the clubhouse and all that, those are single families.
Correct.
Amazing. Yep. Okay.
And then the 2 bigger structures, put it in perspective, that very top right, so you have the 7 darker, and then that's going to be a 60,000 square foot commercial building in that corner.
Yeah, the shopping, kind of a shopping center area.
Yep.
Okay.
And then the one to the right will be a 20,000 square foot of, you know, restaurants, cafes, bars.
Love it. It's always exciting to like see other countries develop too.
It really is.
It's
yeah,
provides a lot of jobs and other things for the people that live there, that were born and raised there as well.
And they're hungry. So thankful.
This is the development where Scott lives, Camp Bay Estates, where his house is, it has its own restaurant and bar, which I think you guys just finished, right? You just opened in April or May.
Yeah, in May.
Yeah.
What did you call your restaurant and bar, Scott?
It's called Shells, named after my wife. My wife's name is Rochelle.
Okay.
And we did a spin off Shells, so I call her Shell sometimes. And
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. These houses in this development are spectacular. I mean, each one of them is private, almost has like its own private view of the ocean. Beautiful pools. I mean, really no expense spared when it came to building these things in terms of the amount of concrete. This one that's pictured on the right, Scott, just for some context, can you say how much concrete you used to do the pool wall?
Yeah, so the pool wall, it's a lot bigger than it is. That cost me $400,000 in cost just for we'll call it the pool and my wall. And that's a lot of concrete.
I don't think that does any justice.
No,
I have other ones that do more justice, but put it in perspective, that wall is 30 feet tall and has three staggers to hold. That pool is 70 feet long.
And how
you
close
can
to the
see
water
that wall
is this?
flying in?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I'm 800 feet from the beach, from point to point.
Okay. Amazing. And so it looks like those are on the slide, a couple slides up, looks like you have, about 20 or so lots still available.
No.
Oh.
I only have, I think, 4 lots of it. So I'm actually sold. So 1, 2, 3. I have 4 lots available in that.
In Camp Bay Estates. This one obviously has a bunch, and then Sunset Vistas still had maybe about 10.
Okay.
That sound about right, Scott?
Yeah. Sunset has about 10 left. Caribbean Bliss has about 12 left, and then Sunset has a lot.
Amazing.
Because we just opened that up. But
awesome.
We are doing in Camp Bay Estates. I took lot 17 and 18, which are on that slide, and I'm actually doing a 18 unit condo complex, which is going to be a luxury, luxury condos. A lot of people can't afford $1 million+ to own a house in Camp Bay Estates, which will be one of the nicest developments on Roatan.
So that 18 and 19 there, those will be the high-end condos.
Exactly. Yep. They've got amazing views. It's real close to the restaurant and bar, and I'm already building a hotel there, which is going now. It's about completed. It's a high-end boutique hotel with the bar restaurant, and then I wanted to add a nice, condo there.
Amazing.
But those will be more affordable for the people.
What will those range from? Like 500 to 700K, you were saying?
those ones will range. The bottom level is because we just opened it up, we're gonna fire sell them, for the 300 plus range, and then go up to 700,000 for the top floors, the penthouse.
Okay.
Let's talk a little bit about how somebody would invest their IRA into something like this. You guys mentioned, I think earlier, maybe we were off camera, that you were actually opening escrow here and closing in the States. Is that right?
So the escrow is actually held and paid in the States. My lawyer, Keena, basically does all the paperwork, but most of the time the escrow is held and paid to her account in Florida. And then from there, it gets wired to me in Honduras, in Roatan.
Okay.
And a lot
are there debt options if somebody wanted to invest in one of these with their IRA? Is there opportunity to get financing?
Yes, there is. So the financing works in a lot of different ways. I do self-financing on all my properties, and just kind of predicated on their credit, the housing development they're in, and what they're looking for. But it ranges from 30 to 40% down, and then I'll do a 10 to 30 year loan at whatever prime is. So right now it's 7.5 to 8.2%.
Okay. Love it.
Yeah. And then Scott, I don't know if what you mentioned before was available, but there was potentially other financing coming on the island that would be made available for Americans.
So I'm signing a deal this coming week, actually, with Banco Atlantico, which is the main bank in Roatan. They're saying, because I have so much going on, they will fund basically my job or my projects at 30% down and anywhere from 10 to 12%, which sounds high, but it's their currency, so it works it down to about 8% when you look at all the numbers, which is huge because if you go to try to get financing their rates are between 19 and 22%.
Sure.
That's awesome.
And for those of you go ahead, Ben.
I was going to say, just kind of keep those figures in mind, when you're looking at this and saying, well, okay, what kind of return would I see, in terms of investing? If you have 30% in a self-directed account to use there, how quickly are you going to make that money back based on what the rentals are?
Ben, can you throw your slide up, the last slide up there with your contact info?
Yeah.
So this is how you can get a hold of Ben. That you can text him or email him at ben@notetools.com. For those of you listening, 407-491-0374. This has been awesome.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. This is very informative.
If you're going to use the IRA LLC, that checkbook control structure, some of you ask the question, well, how does that get reported, or how are we aware of what investments you're making? So we actually require you to do what's called an annual fair market valuation. You can self-certify it, fill it out yourself, but you need to list all the investments that you've made, including, typically you can provide us with a bank statement as well that shows the investments that you made that came out of your checkbook LLC there. So you can do that. As it goes up in value, you can get a broker price, a BPO, broker price opinion. You can pull, the Zestimate off Zillow or Redfin. There's lots of things that we'll accept that we outline on our investment forms and our fair market valuation forms. So the onus is on you to report that back to us, and we do require that you comply with that on an annual basis. But that's how you report it, because we obviously don't have insight into your that bank account.
Yeah, and the only other reporting you have on top of that would be if you have a multi-member LLC. Even though your IRAs are not taxpayers, they don't have to file a tax return. If you have multiple IRAs owning an LLC, you have to file a partnership tax return. That's just the rules for that. But if it's a single member LLC, you don't even file a tax return. for the LLC. So it can be pretty easy to use. Be responsible with it, like Aaron touched on. But it can definitely widen the spectrum of your investments as to what you can do.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just at the top of the hour. We're going to go ahead. You want to throw the alt summit?
Yeah, can we throw this
up?
slide up real quick, Tristan? We want to make sure that we mention this. I know a lot of people are aware of this event. We do this event only once a year. It's our biggest event that we host. Out of the 2 events that we host, this is our Alternative Asset Summit. It's going to be in Scottsdale, October 24th, 25th. We do have a golf scramble on the 26th. We encourage you guys to stay
Roth
for that.
Cup.
The Roth
Competing
Cup.
for the Roth
yeah,
Cup.
the Roth Cup. But let me tell you a little bit about why you want to be at this event. If you want to learn more about alternative investments, all the alternative investments that are out there from industry experts and experts from across the country, they're going to be all here October 24th and 25th. It's at a great venue. It's also a great place to network. If you're going to invest in alternative investments, one of the things that you really need to have is a network of other investors that you can surround yourself with. So it's a great learning opportunity. It's a great place to network. We have early bird tickets right now. If you want to get $100 off, VIP and GA and virtual, they're all $100 off only until July 8th. So
if you're wanting to come live, now would be the time. Like it will sell out just because we're limited on capacity.
Yeah.
And we just, like Nate said, this is our biggest annual live event that we do. So if you're wanting to be there in person and network, like now would be the time to do it. Ben just texted me and said he'll be there. Hopefully Scott and Ken make the trip out as well. We'd love to have y'all all come from the East Coast and Roatan.
And if you want a VIP ticket, you got to get it now because those things are going to sell out. They're selling fast. So grab a VIP ticket or at least get a GA ticket. If you can't make it, do virtual, but there's so much more benefit to being there.
Yeah, you should be there in person for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, thanks everyone. We'll have the slides up. If you're wanting to open up an account with Directed IRA, we have a special here. You can scan the QR code or you can go to directedira.com/appointments. You can book a call with one of our IRA specialists. You can get $150 off the first year annual fee. It's one of the best discounts that we ever have.
On any plan you set up.
Yep, and it applies to multiple accounts for you, family members, other investors, friends that you might be working with. You can use that same discount code, like that Workshop 150, for attending and get $150 off. So do yourself a favor, come join like the best IRA company in the business. We'll make sure that we deliver exceptional customer service and as always continue delivering great educational content. We do podcasts every week. Our founder and CEO, Matt Sorensen, does those. Our co-founder, Mark Kohler, has a massive YouTube following, just Mark J. Kohler. You can look him up on YouTube and talking all about wealth building strategies, tax saving strategies, and most importantly, using a self-directed IRA or solo K to do these types of cool investments. So appreciate everybody and your time for tuning in with us, and I guess we'll see you in a few weeks, right?
Yeah. See you next week.